everyone. Welcome back to TV Guys, the show that knows that sometimes all an introvert needs is one night alone on a deserted island. I'm Matt.
I'm Brian, and I don't know if that's true considering how her game went.
Well, she got her life back, man. Okay, Janu just was like, oh, everything's terrible. I want to go home. Then she goes on this exiled island, and she's like, this is kind of cool. I like this. And then she's like, this whole thing is for me. And I'm like, girl, you just needed alone time. That's all you needed. You were overstimulated.
She needed some rejuvenation.
Oh my gosh. And on that note, we are into it. Guys, this season of Survivor, we're talking about Survivor Season 10, for those who didn't know. Yep, I Palau. Put it in the title. You should know Survivor Palau. That is Season 10. It's a surprisingly good season. It's the 10th season of Survivor. They didn't really do something like special for like, oh, it's their 10th season, but this season was unique. Had a lot of firsts. It was crazy. There was horses and a man on fire, and Tom killed a guy with a trident. He killed a shark with a trident. I screwed that up. That was never mind. Roll it back. Editors, make me sound good.
You mean me? And I'm an editor, not a miracle worker. I can't make either of us sound good.
Brian, you can't have agency in this. You just got to go along with it.
Fair enough. I'm also leaving in my horrible Janu joke, too.
No, that was actually great. Let's be honest. That's top notch. 5 out of 5 stars. All right. Well, hey, when we talked last about Survivor so long ago, Survivor Season 9, what even was Survivor Season 9, Brian? What was that season?
Vanuatu, it was the guys versus the girls, and it's a very forgettable season. Remember Twyla?
I even forgot it like a month later. Survivor Vanuatu. Who was in that one? Oh, yeah, Chris.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I was thinking about Chris today when I was thinking about like some of the strategy stuff. I'm like, Chris, Chris and Twyla at the final 2, and he's all like, hey, Twyla, don't play their game. And Twyla's like, I'm not going to play their game. And she didn't and sucked.
And he was smart and was like, hey, jury, I like you. You're cool.
You know what? I did a lot of you wrong. And that's on me. Let's start over.
By voting me for $1 million.
And then Katie, and this one's like, guys, you stop yelling at me. I played things, all right? And Tom's like, listen, I went out there, I did my game. That's what I did.
I had a weird realization. I texted this to Matt. Okay, in my mind, Tom was like 40, like 50s, like late 40s, 50s. Okay, me and Matt right now are only about 2 years younger than Tom was in this season, which kind of blew my mind a little bit.
Man, he was 40 when he went on this, but did that man have some city miles on him? Let me tell you.
Yeah.
He's still like, even as we're watching this, I'm like, oh yeah, he's only 2 years older than me. I'm like, dude, he's not 40. When you were 40 back in early 2000s, you were like 50, you know?
Yeah.
Nowadays, if you're like 22, you dress like a 50-year-old, but it doesn't mean you're 50.
Yeah. We'll have to see. Yep. And give it another 10 seasons and Tom will be back for season 20.
Oh, we get another Tom.
Yep.
Well, we've already started getting into things. We've been saying stuff. It's been minutes, literal minutes of content. Go tell your friends. Boom. Okay. So we do this every single time when we talk about Survivor. We're like, hey, what do you remember about the next season before we watch it? And we're going to have to stop doing this for me because season 11 is, I think, the final season that I watched. So I actually remember stuff for season 11, but for season 10, I don't quite. So here you go. Listen to this. This is what we remembered about season 10 when we first talked about Survivor Vanuatu. Make sense? All right, cool.
Yeah.
Bye. I remember absolutely nothing from season 10. So the only thing that I remember is, and when I said, oh, I remember that Stephanie, no, I only remember her from Traders. But I do remember, I think it's Ian. I remember there's things about him. So he's a guy that stood out to me. Like, I've seen this guy before.
Mm.
I don't know if he wins, but I think he goes far.
Yeah. I honestly can't say much about it because This is a season I remember a little bit more about, and so I remember like big things that happened in the game that would be spoilers.
All right, and then for you guys out there, here's Brian without me here because he didn't want to spoil it for me. Brian's going to just record a very small amount on his own of some of the big things he remembers, and then we'll play it for next time, and you'll see how good his memory is.
Future Brian here. Two big things I didn't want to spoil Matt about is that this is the first season that has a tribe of one, where the tribe loses so much that Stephanie ends up being the only one left in the tribe. And then also the final challenge, I think it's the final 3 challenge, where Tom and Ian are on those buoys for so long, for so many hours, that it breaks records, and they're out there at night. And then Ian ends up making a deal against himself. I don't remember the details, but it's a dumb move. He basically says, like, don't pick me. And then because it was so late, they end up having tribal council right there. And that's the big stuff I didn't want to spoil Matt about. And by what we remembered, Matt, you didn't remember anything.
I remembered Stephanie from Traitors.
But even then, so I thought I remembered more of the season than I did. The 2 things I talked about in that clip are like the 2 things I remembered. Okay, I did not remember at all Greg or Jen or Karen, who are all in the final 6.
No one cares about Greg or Tom or no, Greg or Jen or Karen.
They
don't even remember themselves.
If you told me in the beginning of the show that Karen would be in the final 5, like, for real?
Yeah. Props to Karen for having a true Karen haircut, because that lady, like, she embodied Karens everywhere. This is really pre the Karen Sans, all right? Before they had their Karen Day in Karen Land.
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw Karen in front of everything. Is that comedy? Guys, is this working for you? You got to tell me out there. Is this funny? All the downvotes. They're just coming in. All right.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like, Karen and Jen, just blah faces. For whatever reason, I remembered Willard. Like, when I saw Willard, I'm like, hey, there's a guy. I know this dude. He has a distinguishable face. But then he's like, I'm just going to get voted. We're not even going to lose a challenge. I'm just going to get voted.
Yeah. Well, then there's the thing is I remembered that's watching through it. I remembered that Willard got voted out only because they kind of like threw him a bone. Like, okay, we have to get rid of somebody from Karor. So let's say they both have to go.
Yeah, we'll do it that way.
Also, I totally forgot about James, which I thought I would. He's a character I thought I would remember. Can you imagine Big James and Big Tom having a conversation?
Boy, the subtitle experts would really have their hands full in that one.
Yeah.
But you're right. There's a lot, like, for having 20 people, there's a lot of forgettable faces in this season.
Kind of 20 people were there. 18 of them got to actually play.
And one of them sang.
But you didn't see that until the finale.
You're right. This was the Ian, Tom, and sometimes Stephanie show. Like, those are the 3 standouts from this season. Even Katie. And, Katie had enough agency in the show. It's, we'll talk about her. But really, notable characters are those 3.
But even then, the first half of the show was basically the Oolong show, because they were the ones constantly losing and going to tribal. And we would every now and then you would cut back to Karor and be like, Tom caught a shark. They're doing great. Everyone loves each other. And then they would get back to Oolong for the actual show. Like, we didn't really get to know Karor.
Janu wants to quit. Kobe's being a little dramatic.
Yeah,
but Oolong sucks.
Man, but for having so many like actual good challenge people on that tribe, they just could not get it together. And I forgot that they actually won some rewards, but they can never get it together for their immunities.
They did. At least Bobby John got to do the jellyfish there. What?
Oh yeah.
Who was there for what?
I said, oh yeah, I forgot about that. It was Bobby John and
Bobby John, Stephanie, and Ibrahim. Were those the only ones there for that reward challenge?
I think so.
Yep. Well, so we're gonna kind of go through this.
Yeah.
This was because of Oolong's suckitude. this was a season that had a lot of good pre-merge stuff. It's funny, there wasn't even a merge.
No.
This was a season. They actually, like, literally, guys, if you remember this at all, you might remember that eventually they're like, all right, Stephanie, you're part of Karora now. We're not even gonna give you a new name. We have these buffs. We're not even gonna give you new buffs. You're just Karora. Karora dissolved you. There you go. The Karora dissolved you like an amoeba
Absorbed
surrounding.
is the word you're looking for.
What?
Absorbed?
That is what I was looking for. Guys, I say words professionally, and I'm really bad at it. So I'm Joe Biden up here. All right. Well, no, I don't make as much sense as he does. So they cut out that part, but still, those first episodes, like, it really gave you a good underdog story. And because Stephanie was such a fierce competitor, I think she gets the ability to be the stand-in of the underdogs. It wasn't the tribe so much as the underdogs. Like, Stephanie was the face of it.
Yeah.
And so you got to root really for her. And I think that's why she's such a beloved character. Not to take anything away from her and her personality, but I think she gets that added bonus of, like, she embodied it so well that she would get hit and beaten, but always get back up. And that's always someone that you want to cheer for.
Yeah, and it's probably no surprise that you'll see Stephanie again. And so they'll give her a chance to actually play more with the tribe that doesn't completely lose all the time.
Yeah. I honestly, like, I don't get too emotional about Survivor stuff. Maybe sometimes it's like, oh, they're family, and that's so sad. I got just a little teary-eyed to watch Stephanie, like, plead for her life the time that Janu quit.
Yeah.
Like, that tribal council, and Jeff, like, asked her straight out, "Is like, do you feel like you're in danger tonight?" She's like, "I know I am," and she just breaks.
Yeah.
And, like, I felt so bad for her.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, my heart really went out to her, and all these years later. But it just shows how the editing, how the story, and how her personality all kind of came together to really give an engaging story for her as a character.
Exactly, but that was the problem. They all knew that Stephanie would win in a landslide if she made it to the final two.
Hands down, I would say the only person that could maybe upset that, it would be a very interesting final tribal council, but if it was her and Tom, they both have really good arguments for getting votes, and I'd be really interested to see who would come out as a winner in that scenario.
It would be. I mean, I know Tom caught a lot of heat, and he did rub some people the wrong way, but I think at the end of the day, they did respect his gameplay, and he was a leader for the tribe.
Yeah, and we'll talk about kind of that jury stuff, because I felt like there was a bit of unfairness, and it's the same unfairness that's in all the jury. Oh, you guys didn't make it. No wonder you're mad. Like, you're being a little harsh when you did the same things.
But also they were way more harsh on Katie than they were to Tom.
Oh, gosh. And especially Greg, because he says in the reunion, he's like, yeah, I was still playing the game at that point. I'm like, dude, you were just unfairly mean, though. Good gravy. All right. So we watched, and Jeff, like, summed it up at the reunion. It's like, there's 14 challenges pre-quote-unquote merge. 14 challenges. 11 of them, Karor won. So Oolong, like, when you're watching it, it doesn't feel like Oolong pulled 3 out, but they did. They got 3 victories, so good for them. But 11 challenges, as well as, 7 straight immunity challenge rewards?
Yeah, but if you feel bad, Oolong came so close in some of those. I really felt bad for them on the make a distress signal one, because they did really good, but it was like little things here and there that put them below Karor. They were like right on the cusp of winning so many of those challenges.
And they're like, we're just going to burn our shelters. Like, guys, this isn't Gattaca. You don't, I save nothing for the swim back. Like, you have to live there, guys. You still have to make use of what you're doing. You can't just burn your stuff and just hope for the best, especially when you lose.
And then at one point, Oolong brought their entire camp to tribal. Like, maybe we're merging. We hope, please.
Did they? I forgot about that. What episode was that?
I don't. I think it was still when they had James, maybe even Angie, but they were. It was. It was way too early for a merge, and just like, come on, guys, you're dumb.
He's like, we're not bailing you out. You guys suck. We're gonna let you sit in that for a while. Like,
Yeah.
please, man. They're picking us off.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Angie, Angie was a one of my favorite pre-merge characters
Mm-hmm.
of most probably any season. She was one that she had a lot of fight in her as well.
Oh
Like
yeah.
what I think I liked about her is just what she brought to immunity challenges or what she brought to challenges. Yeah, they didn't win, but good gravy, that girl knew how to fight. She was like street rules sort of competitor.
Mm-hmm.
Like what was the one with the swimming and then she like dunks Greg and is like trying to drown him pretty much. I'm like, dang girl, can you just I know you'll do anything for $1,000,000, but murder is probably a little bit high on the don't list.
Yeah, if they're not allowing people to like choke Clay with their one hand, I don't think you can murder people.
You don't think you can, but you never know until you try.
Yeah, that's true.
Meanwhile, in that one where Angie gets voted out, it's like, this the same because that's the double tribal council. Willard's like, I guess it's my time. I'm like, dude, can you maybe fight? Like, how many people in this season just rolled over and took their beating? Like Willard,
Mm-hmm.
Janu, Ian, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah,
Like, there was multiple. I guess it's my time to go. And the Stephanie's like, please, I just want to fight.
yeah, and Kobe didn't give up, but he knew it was his time. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if he kind of gave up because okay, so the first challenge after the merge, I wrote a note for this because Jeff will always have these challenges where it's like who can stand still the longest, and then Jeff is gonna bring some stuff out to tempt you, and you'll be like, come on out, come get chocolate and peanut butter, and Ian's like, I'll take my clothes off for chocolate and peanut butter. It was like
Yeah,
this, you're not a hot woman, Ian. You can't do that.
no, and what he said as a joke, but yeah,
He did. It was a good reference.
yeah,
But it's like Jeff says something along the lines. He felt like really judgy about people choosing food in this
mm-hmm.
one. It was just like I wrote the line specifically for someone so eager for food. Like
Yeah,
there's multiple times like people jump off and like, really? That's what it cost? That's what you're gonna do? Like he had so much sass in this challenge when it's like, Jeff, you've been doing this for 10 year or 10 seasons. You know what the game is. You know people are gonna jump at this because they're
yeah.
freaking starving. What is this attitude you're bringing in?
I was shocked that Stephanie jumped in though because I thought she had that like I will fight tooth and nail to get by one, and
Dude, it's
granted she
pizza.
didn't get voted out, but she is the one.
It's pizza, man. Kobe got voted out for a donut. For a donut.
Yeah. I mean, granted, we haven't been that starving before, but still, I mean, that's a lot riding on it.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to highlight pre-merge, one of the last things I think I'll say pre-merge. Actually, no, I got two things to say pre-merge. One thing, I'm actually going to do a detour now. Episode
Okay.
7, the one where Ibrahim got voted off.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of like firsts, and they highlighted some of these firsts for this season. I wrote down a first, and I can't verify for sure 100% this was a first, but I believe it was. It was the first time that we saw like that, like that final three when there's like only one person votes and they don't show it. This is the first time we had more than one person voting, and they didn't show us any of the votes. I
Oh, really?
believe that's right because I've been kind of paying attention to that and being like, do they show more than one vote in this? And they usually, even with 4 people voting, they'll show like at least one
Yeah.
because you kind of tend to know. And this one we got down to Ibrahim, uh, Bobby John, and Stephanie, and there was a lot of like, who is it going to be? Who's going to go? And boom, it was Ibrahim, but they didn't show anyone. They didn't show who was leaning. And they
Hmm.
actually then did it a couple times this season where they didn't show anyone who they were going to, like, who was voting. I think it was the one where Karen was voted in episode 13 that they had 5 people voting. No, they didn't show any of the 5 votes.
Interesting. I
You can
didn't
check
catch
my
that at
math, you
all.
Survivor maniacs out there, but I think I'm right.
Hmm. I didn't catch that. And then before we go to the pre-merge, we should mention one of the two love connections that didn't really last was the Jeff and Kim.
Well, that's what happens when you roll your ankle, and then Kim
Yeah,
gets voted out because your sugar daddy got voted out.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, they were forgettable. I mean, I didn't remember hardly anyone on this cast. I don't know what I remember
No.
going into this. I think I had like 4 people in my mind.
And Ashley got voted out the one before Jeff did, and that was another one she said in the reunion that she kind of just gave up. She essentially, she's like, how many people are just crapping out on you in this game?
Yeah. But I will say, maybe this is jumping ahead a little bit, but you remember when Sean quit in Survivor Pearl Islands and how mad Jeff Probst got? It's like there's too many people who are wanting to play this game. And for Janu, he was super
Austin.
nice. He's like, oh, you're quitting? Okay, cool. Give me your torch. Austin, what did I say?
Sean.
Oh, I confused Sean from Marquesas with Austin. Yes, you're right. It was Austin. But it's like, he was so mad at Austin for quitting. And then Janu was like, oh, cool. Bring me your torch.
And then they're like, we're not even going to include your torch in the memory lane one.
Yeah.
We're going to write you off like you didn't even exist. And then he's like, hey, Janu, are you feeling okay? You want to quit? You want to quit, buddy? You want to go? You can still be on the jury. I promise. It'll be great. You got to fulfill your obligations, but we can let you quit. But I mean, the difference is like she was quitting to save Stephanie. And I know Stephanie's like, no, she's quitting for her. She's not quitting for me. I'm like, I get why you're saying that. It's a pride thing, but she was quitting for Stephanie. Let's be honest.
I think the most acceptable quit, which obviously I won't say names because it's way ahead. This is in season 31, so way farther ahead.
Oh, I thought you were going to go back and say Jenna.
Oh no, that one too. Actually, yeah, I forgot that one too.
But in hindsight, that was. I'll 100% admit.
But it's season 31, and this is a big one. This is a returnee season, so it's a big one. And Jeff Probst actually shows up at the camp in the middle of the night and tells this contestant, "Hey, your son is in the hospital, and your family thinks it's serious enough for you to quit and go back home." And so he quit, and of course everyone understood. And then at the reunion, they said his son's made it through, but that was like, okay, I get it. If your family is calling the producers and saying get him home, that's different.
Yeah, it's like if he didn't listen and son didn't pull through, you never forgive yourself. That
exactly
damages your psyche for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Other thing pre-merge, and then we can talk about more some of this because we want to get into Tom. We haven't talked much at all about Tom and Ian, and we need to. But I found it funny in the first episode. So, I mean, you guys know in that first episode, we have 20 people and then they don't even break them into tribes at first. They're just meandering on a beach. Like, hey, here's some good relationships. And I didn't remember later. But was it like Stephanie? Did she meet with Tom? Cause she talked about how like her and Tom and Ian had something early on.
I think they did. I think they had a group, and I think it was just as simple as someone got picked with when they were picking the tribe. She ended up getting picked by the other tribe because it was like a schoolyard pick.
Yeah. I remember the same thing. Angie and Kobe, they kind of had us outsiders, we need to stick together, and they get separated on different tribes too.
But then it was Kobe's turn to pick, and he for some reason chose Karen. I think it was over Angie.
Yeah. What a poop. Yeah. Kobe, come on. But I bring this up for that, and then also I wanted to highlight how it's like they're riding this boat back. It's like the first 2 people who get this necklace get immunity. You guys decide when you're jumping out of the boat. Jonathan jumps out, and then everyone keeps going. Is like, oh, okay, I guess I'm not getting it. And then he doesn't even get picked. No. Like, boy, that guy put 5 feet in his mouth to do that.
Well, and then at the reunion, Angie's like, yeah, you didn't get picked because no one liked you and you were mean to us.
And just like, all right, we're done. We're going to keep moving on.
And then the thing that Matt didn't was a reference earlier that if you watch this on Paramount Plus, you missed. But the older lady who didn't get picked, Wanda, if you look it up on YouTube, the original airing, as they're walking in on the boat, she's standing up and singing like these parody songs for Survivor, like she's Weird Al, and annoying the crap out of everybody. But you don't see any of that because they cut it out. And then at the reunion, Jeff's like, so Wanda, you were singing a lot. Do you want to sing a song for us? which would be super confusing. Matt, did you know that before I sent you that clip?
I didn't. I wouldn't have remembered it.
Did you see that? Did I send you that before you saw the finale?
You did. Yep.
Okay, because you would have been very confused, I bet.
I probably would have been more so than I usually am in just my default setting.
Exactly. There's a Survivor podcast. Actually, it was hosted by Rob Sesternino from 6 and 8. That's still going. And for a while, they had a song parody contest where listeners would send in parodies for about every episode of Survivor, and they called it the Wandoff for Wanda.
Wandoff is bad marketing. So Ian got a necklace.
Yeah.
Well, good for him. Jolana got a necklace, and so she was able to choose everyone, but wasn't good enough to not get voted out first chance they got. So sorry, Jolanda.
Yeah. Again, I had no memory of Jolanda at all.
That's because she was the first one voted.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
I remember a lot of the first votes out, though, but not this one.
Yeah. Yep. Same here. All right. So we get to post-merge, I guess, whatever the crap that is. And Kobe's like, great, I'm going to stir things up. Hey, Stephanie, here's all our dirty laundry. And then he's like standing on the beam. He's like, Jeff, we're all liars. Look at all these losers and they're lying. And they're like, all right, we're going to give Kobe off. And then we'll go to Stephanie.
Yeah. Kobe was on the bottom, and he could have maybe tried to be strategic, but he's like, well, screw everybody. And he torpedoed himself even further.
Yeah, he absolutely, because he could have had Kobe, Janu, and Karen, and then Stephanie, who doesn't have a dog in the fight. Although Stephanie, it seemed like she believed a little bit of like what she'd said to Tom when they first were on the beach in that day one, and Karen had a little bit of this affinity for Tom, and etc. So maybe it wouldn't have been as easy as I'm saying. Plus, Janu just seemed to be there for reasons.
Yeah, I think Tom liked Stephanie, but at that point he was too deep in with his 5-person alliance.
Yeah. So Tom, let's talk about Tom, because I mean, there's a lot of fascinating TV that happens with Tom and Ian and the stuff that they have, but there is a little bit of a boring of like, oh look, Tom won another reward. Oh look, Tom won another immunity challenge.
Yeah.
He won another one. Oh good, Ian won one. Oh good, Ian won another one. No wait, Tom again. Tom. Yeah. So like he played a really good game. But he didn't play a super strategic one, and there wasn't a ton of strategery in this season of Survivor. Do you think that's fair?
I think it's fair. I think there was some strategy, but ironically, the people who did the most strategy didn't make it as far.
Yeah, it was one of the more honest seasons of Survivor that there was, especially up to this point, and I don't know going forward. But it feels like there's a good shot for this to go down as the most honest season of Survivor. Even more than one, where Richard Hatch was playing it and no one else was.
Yeah. No, and both with that, Tom played a game that is very unlikely to win Survivor like that. To be out in the front of everything, saying like, I'm the big guy, I'm the leader of the tribe, I'm winning all the everything, I'm hiding in plain sight. Normally that guy gets voted out very quickly because he is the obvious threat. And a jury threat.
Yeah, Greg would have made it further in any other season because Greg had, especially because Greg solidified a good alliance with Jen. He solidified a great alliance with those 5, and he had enough ability to win challenges, and he had enough strategy in his mind to be able to pivot and be planning. Because like he was saying, hey, once we get maybe a couple people off, then I can grab some of these people like Kobe or Janu or something, and we can vote off Tom. So like he had some end game stuff. He clearly was thinking ahead, and he clearly was able to be flexible. But this season of the game didn't allow for that sort of thing, and he got bested because he was just playing out those scenarios, even if he wasn't ready to act on them quite at that time.
No, and he's not the only one. I think him and Ian and Katie at different times all considered getting Tom out, but they were so afraid of going against like the like I said, this honest tribe that they could never really pull the trigger on it. Otherwise, it would be their own downfall, which it was anyways.
Yeah. And there's the ugliest part of Tom was he was a little bit like Mafia. He was a little
Yeah,
bit like, you're going to do what I want. You're going to do what I say. He really was pressuring Katie at one of them.
yeah. Towards the end,
Overall, I really liked Tom, but there was a couple of his ugly sides that popped up in it.
which I didn't remember that with Tom.
No,
I remembered him being like the all American, like Colby, but older.
I mean, what's more all American than saying you're going to do what I want, right?
Fair enough.
You're not wrong, man. You're not wrong. Um, what was it? There. Oh, and speaking of that, speaking of Ian pivoting, so the time when Stephanie gets voted, here's a great piece of editing. Ian writes his vote down. We don't see what his vote is. He holds it up. We still don't see what it is because it's the top camera angle, but we get to hear his dialogue, and he says, "You are one of the fiercest competitors I have ever met." And that is one of those times when, like, they were saying, hey, maybe Ian might switch. Maybe he might go for Tom. Tom does not have immunity at this point. Ian has immunity. Yeah. And so this was their chance. If there was a chance to take out Tom, this was it. The camera, as he says, you're one of the fiercest competitors I ever met. The camera shows both Tom and Stephanie, who happen to be sitting next to each other at Tribal Council, and it shows just those two. And I'm like, that is a great piece of editing. Well done. Way to keep us in suspense. Like, yeah, he could be talking about one of these. Who's it going to be? You'll find out in 2 minutes. I like it.
I remember when we would watch it growing up in these first airings. I would be like on the edge of my seat during Tribal Council, and normally it's like between one or two people, and I would like hold with my finger like, okay, this person got to vote, this person got to vote, and I would always be like intensely rooting for one of the people. And it would be like, oh no, the person I wanted got voted out, or yay, they didn't. I don't remember who I was rooting for originally with this season.
The saddest vote I remember having was when Rupert got voted out in Pearl Islands. Hated it.
I think Rupert hated it too.
I imagine.
Yeah.
I was also sad this season, and I knew Stephanie didn't make it. Yeah. But again, she had such a good story to root for. And it doesn't hurt that she, we talk about Tom being the all-American boy. Seriously, like, if Stephanie was on the Kruger tribe, there would have been an unbreakable Tom, Ian, and Stephanie alliance. Like, there's no shot. Those three are not the final three. And
no.
And she was like a younger female version of all the characteristics that we liked about Tom. I felt like Stephanie had it. She had a lot of that no nonsense. She had a lot of that, like, what you see is what you get. And so she was very easy to root for, and Tom was very easy to root for too. So it was a good season to have those two guys, or those two characters.
And I think culturally, in the early 2000s, it was still more surprising to have like a tough woman. Not that there weren't tough women, but it was not as culturally like celebrated. So like, what? A tough woman? Women can be good at things.
And I think that's why Angie caught my eye so much too. Not my wife, Angie, but this Angie, because she was a tough competitor too, but she was in a package where you expect the package of who Stephanie is. You expect that to be a fierce competitor. She's very clearly athletic, very clearly fit. Angie's not like that. I'm such a fit girl. Like, she's the odd, nerdy, maybe semi-goth girl. And yet you put her in a challenge and it's just like Wolverine claws come out and you're like, I'm locked in here with her. Get me out of here.
Yeah, you didn't expect Angie to be the athlete. You expected her to be the clerk at Hot Topic.
Which I play Survivor with clerks at Hot Topic all the time. We have good times.
Sure.
I don't even know what that means. Sometimes I just say things I'm like, this could be a joke. We'll see if people laugh.
Honestly, I didn't know what you mean either, but I was like, I'm going to let him go.
This is why you guys keep coming back. Play the hits week after week. Matt says something. Is that a joke? Find out next time. I don't know, man.
Who knows? One thing I forgot to mention earlier, I really liked the challenge where it's like a big circular track and they have to hold weight and basically just try to run around and catch the other tribe. That was a really unique challenge.
You're right. That was a great challenge. I was going to bring that up and I forgot to because we were talking about that pre-merge. That was the one Jeff rolls his ankle right before that.
Yeah.
And then the challenge starts like, you can trade off your bag. It's like, Survivor's ready and go. And Jeff's out. Like, just instantly, Jeff's like, yeah, I'm not doing this. Can't. Sorry, guys. So who carried it? Was that Bobby John who immediately got his, or James, or something like that?
It was either James or Bobby John or Ibrahim. It was one of the guys.
Yeah. It was like, sorry, you're starting off with 20 pounds. My bad.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
So,
then Tom's like, yeah, I'll carry 100 as I'm going around here. We're good.
yeah. So what were you going to say before I interrupted you?
What was I going to say? Oh, I think I was going to pivot into Ian. No, before I get to Ian, because Ian's got some. No, we can do Ian, and then we can talk about this other thing. Because I want to talk about reward challenge downfalls. And we saw two back to back blow up spectacularly for the individual reward winner.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, that kind of ties in with Ian's strategy, because Ian is a great character. He was a lot of fun. He was one of those as like that, like innocent, fun loving sort of guy that's like, I could have fun with this guy. And he's, there for the love of the game. He's sweet. He's kind. He's goofy and silly. He's the type of person that, someone like me feels like I am, except for, it's like, yeah, maybe a little nerdy, maybe a little weird, but for the most part, you're fun. People like you. They like having you around.
Yeah.
And then his game collapsed at the end because he didn't know. First of all, he didn't know how to lie. He wanted to, but he sucked at it.
Really bad.
What'd you think about Ian's gameplay?
It was not always terrible. I mean, his gameplay was basically sticking to his alliance with Tom and Katie, and basically, and obviously not having to go to tribal council for the first half of the game helped too. And he was a good competitor, but it wasn't so much basically he played his game out in the open. And when he tried to lie, he failed spectacularly. And I'm sure you're talking about the time when he and Tom said, okay, we cannot take each other on the reward. Who are you going to take? Tom.
You could see a little bit of Tom like, dude, we just talked about this.
I know.
Because, okay, let's flash back, because now this is what I was going to say. The same thing happened. The week before that, Greg wins reward. And Greg, who are you taking? I'm taking Jen. Okay, you can take one other person. You're going to take Katie. Okay, cool. Let's all go on this boat. And then the three of them, which I love the direction of this scene too, because they have like this windy scene where Tom, Ian, and Karen are all sitting together, and it's like they all have it was very Hollywood written, where it's like, do you really think that this would happen? And then cut to Karen's like, definitely. And like, it was very, very dramatic conversation that they were having, and they also framed it and shot it in a dramatic way. And I'm like, you guys really are selling this moment for what it is. But it was them like, okay, we have to make a move now, because what's going on that boat is that Greg, Jen, and Katie are all devising their thing. Mm-hmm. And they're going to come back, and they're going to be strong, and they're going to try and talk to someone, and they're going to get Tom out, or they're going to go for the throat with us. And if we don't react now, we're done. So they pivoted, and they were able to take out Greg before they got to that final five that Tom had been singing about the entire show.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, you kind of figured that five. It's almost never when there's like a group of 5 or 6, like we're the group. It's almost never makes it all the way to that group.
Yeah, because everyone wants to do what the first season was. There's the group of 4, and the group 4 actually did make it to the group of 4, although they stumbled a couple times and almost didn't. But what's her name in that group won the immunity so many times that she just stuck around. And, Kelly. And so she didn't get voted out, and she made it to the final 4 by default.
Yeah, well, the problem is when you have a group of 5 or 6, you need to make sure no one thinks they're number 5 or 6.
Yes, exactly. And if they do think they're number 5, because here's the problem with a group of 5 for an alliance. Because a lot of times in that group of 5 alliance, there are also going to be individual groups of 2. Yeah. That group of 5 that we saw had Jen and Greg, and then had Ian and Tom. And then Ian is like, but I also have Ian and Katie. So Ian played it right to be like, hey, if it did make it to that final 5, Ian has Tom and Katie, and they pick off Greg and Jen. And Greg and Jen saw that coming, to their credit. And so then, they pivoted, but they didn't pivot it enough because Ian played his power play and got Katie on his side, and then she got all mad. And then the next week, he just showed his social illiteracy with women, is how I'll phrase it.
Yeah.
When he, like you said, took Tom in the car and didn't share that reward with Katie, which sharing with Katie was the right play.
It was. And I don't know if she says later, "Oh, I wasn't really mad. I was just playing it up." I think she was actually mad that she didn't get to go on that reward.
You could see it on her face. She was mad.
Yeah.
She and like maybe she was saying, "Oh, I wasn't mad," but if whether it was mad or hurt, either one, like you can pick your point. She had a poor emotional reaction, not poor like "how dare you," but her reaction was negative to Ian. She was perfectly legitimate in how she responded.
Yeah.
You know, I would feel the same way. I'd feel like, are you kidding me? What the heck's wrong with you?
Yeah. And then we can, I don't know if you want to just yada yada through Jen and Karen go. Was there anything important in that section? Or because the next notable thing I remember is that final 3 challenge.
Yeah. There was Karen's like tribal council where she's like, by the way, here's all the lies that are happening. Just so that we're all on the same page. And Ian gets ramrodded in that. Because like as soon as that, so Ian's downfall happens when they switch to Greg. And because he starts with telling Katie and telling her how they're voting. And this was her problem too. She's like, you didn't have a conversation with me. You didn't trust me about this. You just told me this is what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I understand where she's coming from, but I think I probably would have done it in a similar way as Ian, because you're nervous, you're paranoid. There's always time for things to flip. The more time that you give, the more time that they have to pull something else out and flip it back on you. So I get Ian's role in that, but then he didn't shore up the alliance the next day, and he alienated her further with taking Tom. And then all the lies come out in that tribal council with Karen, and he gets caught where, oh yeah, I might have taken Tom. And Tom is really smart. Like, he catches the small things where he's like, you said you would have tried to take me to the final 3. Or
like I said, it would have been, I'm glad I didn't have to make that decision. Well, why would that be hard? It should be easy. Just take me.
Yeah. And for Tom to pick up on the little things showed a lot of social intelligence for him. We can talk about how maybe he didn't play like the most deceptive game. He didn't lie and strategies tries all that much, but he was really good at reading the room. We're going to give that to Tom. So yeah, that's where Ian's thing goes down. And so in episode 14, the final episode, where it's the final 4, we have to see Ian versus Jen, because Ian almost gets voted out because Tom won't vote for Jen. He's going to vote for Ian. Why do you feel like Katie's still stuck by Ian in that one? Why didn't Katie switch, in your opinion?
I think Katie didn't want to let Jen get into the finals because Jen had a lot of friends in the jury.
Yeah, probably. I think if it's Katie versus Ian, she definitely has a better shot of winning versus Ian than she does against Tom.
Yeah.
Because he lost a lot of goodwill in that time. And even Ian is like, I'm maybe in a good position. My stock has gone down. He's trying to spin gold out of the crap that he made for himself, but he's not wrong.
No, not at all.
I don't know if Jen would have, because Jen has Greg. Jen 100% has Greg.
Yeah.
No, Greg is going to vote for the entire time. And Jen probably would have had Karen, because Jen didn't do anything to tick off Karen.
Yeah.
But the other ones, who knows? Who knows what she would have had? Stephanie, who knows? I think Stephanie would have voted for whoever's against Jen, probably.
Probably. Because I think Stephanie would have wanted a good player to win.
Yes, absolutely. So if it was Jen versus Katie, I think Stephanie would have been like, coin flip.
Who do I hate less?
Yeah. So let's talk about that final jury duty, the final 2 that we have of Tom versus Katie. We didn't get to the buoy. We talked a little bit about it. Was there more you wanted to say about the buoy challenge?
Well, that is a very iconic moment. The challenge that lasts for like 10 hours. It goes from day to night.
Almost 12.
Almost 12, yeah. You'll see clips of this challenge in like almost every Survivor has done a lot of great things, and like they'll show montages of the big moments. This almost always makes the cut there. And then for the fact that Ian torpedoes his own game because of he feels bad, it's just I don't know. I get it, but also like you're so close, and I don't know. It's an iconic moment, but I don't like seeing people go that far to quit a challenge.
Does he ever come back?
No, Ian doesn't. You'll see from this season, Stephanie, Bobby John, and Tom are the only returnees from this season.
I'm so confused about. I mean, I'm not so confused.
Yeah,
but I'm just curious, like how Ian has he gone on the record afterwards of like talking about that?
he may have. I haven't heard anything beyond this season and the reunion. And I don't know if he was ever offered to come back and turned it down. I just know he hasn't come back. I'm sure we could probably look it up, but I don't know. It's just such a the game are going there to play, and you're that close to the end, just because he could have won. Who knows?
He did say that after that challenge, he's like, what you see 3 people hanging on buoys for 10 hours. What you don't see is like 100 people on a barge staying silent for 11 hours and just watching you. It's like, it was weird. And apparently once they got off of that and they got on the barge and they're going to get taken back, some cast member slips him, not cast, a crew member slips him a bag of Doritos and is like, shh, don't tell anyone. So Ian got some Doritos like right after the whole thing, and then before he got to like go do his, and I'm sure they like slipped him the Doritos because like, hey, your game's over, you just got voted out. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
well, that's true. Like, I was at Barnes and Noble this past weekend, and there's a Survivor book, and it's mostly just like really cool photography shots of like the whole history of the show. They showed a wide shot of like the contestants standing on the beach, like we're talking to Jeff at the beginning of the season. I'm not sure which season it was. I think it was one of the more recent ones. But then the next page, you see what we don't see is like an entire huge crew of camera people and producers, and like it's like 50 people. But when we're watching it, we make it seem like it's just the contestants and Jeff alone. But no, there's people everywhere all the time.
So apparently, according to Ian in an Ask Me Anything on Reddit, so again, this is just from his mouth, not from mine.
Yeah.
The night that everyone was done the show, and they go back to like kind of, they call it the loser lodge, like hanging out after everything's done. They're finally able to eat, and he's like, I ate like 7 cheeseburgers. Tom drank a bunch, and he was used to getting up in the middle of the night for going to the bathroom, and wasn't used to like a normal human bathroom for 40 some days. So as he's going to try and get to the bathroom, he falls, he pulls the sink down and pulls it on top of him, breaking his toe in the process. Tom forgot how to use a human bathroom, guys. You're out there for 40 days. You don't remember what humans do in the night while you're going to the bathroom. And he forgot.
Sounds like it may have also been a combination of exhausted, delirious, and drunk. Maybe. I don't do it anymore. For a while, I think in like maybe the teens and 20s, maybe the 30s, used to be able to go the day after the episode and watch on CBS.com the Ponderosa videos, which is Ponderosa is like it's the little hotel place they stay in after they get voted out. And you get to see each person go and like join the jury and say, hey, look, it's us now, and hang out. So those were fun to watch.
There's another thing too. Last thing I'll say of like Ian's Ask Me Anything, and this isn't for really anyone except for you and me, Brian, and anyone who knows Wilbur Gale, a good friend of ours from church, from Bethel's Rock in Minneapolis. That church. We're at different churches now. So Ian, in a conversation, refers to a man named Willard. He refers to him as Wilbur. Whereas the Wilbur that we know was called Willard by another man that he it was let's call it a trigger word for Wilbur. And so to see Ian flip it on the other side and call a Willard Wilbur is really funny to me. And I don't think Wilbur, our friend Wilbur, listens to this, but if he did,
No.
Wilbur, that would be hilarious. If you listen to this, you'd reach out to us and let us know how mad you are at Ian now.
First of all, I don't think he listens to our podcast, and even if he did, I don't think he's a Survivor fan, so I don't think he'd be listening to this episode.
No, he would. This is the only one he'd listen to. Dude, it's kismet. It's fate. He came into this episode like, I'm going to listen to Survivor 10 for some reason. I just feel the pull. I don't know. Let's talk about, I keep wanting to call it jury duty. I don't know why I want to call it jury. I want to talk about these
final tribal.
Final tribal. That's the better name because it's probably true. What did they call it? So Kobe, he starts it off. He's like, Tom played dirty. And I'm like, freaking Kobe, like, of all the winners in Survivor history up to this point, like, he played like the cleanest game. You're the one who was like, listen, I'm gonna mix things up. Now Stephanie's here. I'm gonna do something fun. Like, dude, you shut your mouth off. I wouldn't say Kobe specifically played a dirty game. I wouldn't call him that.
No.
But what I do want to highlight about Tom, and what I want to highlight about jury members typically in this game, is that there's this human truth where we tend to judge other people on their actions, and we tend to judge ourselves on our intentions. And I think Tom did a really good job of kind of highlighting where that discrepancy is that, like, all of us, any person who plays this game, like, they all know they're going to be in a game. They all know that there's going to be some, like, you're not going to bring brutal honesty with people. Like, who are you voting for tonight? I'm voting for you. We're going to try and surprise you. But, like, Lex tried to play that a little bit and be like, look at how honorable I am. Like, no, that doesn't work. So everyone knows there's going to be a degree of lying by omission. And if I wouldn't say that Tom really lied that much, but he did have lies by omission where he just left out things. That's fine. Yeah. That's going to happen. That's how you play the game. But everyone kind of has this line that they don't cross, right? And like some players like Johnny Fairplay and Rob, their line is a lot further on than a player like Rupert or Rudy is going to be. You've got some players that are like, I'm going to be me and I'm going to stick to my principles. But who can say what their principles are? Everyone has different principles. So Kobe, I feel like, was applying some incorrect principles to Tom unfairly and saying, look at how dirty he played. Like, these guys on the jury, they're just sitting there upset that another person's going to win $1 million. I get it, but you can't just loft these things and be like, you played such a bad game. How dare you? You weren't honest at all. That's full of crap.
Unless he was saying that Tom was trying to say, oh, look how honest I am, then I could see it. But I don't know.
But even then, like, if anyone had a reason to say that, it's Tom. I would get that, like, that would be poorly received by the jury. I would say that. If someone goes, I played an honest game. Like, well, as honest as you can play in Survivor, sure.
Yeah, and win, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember any specific really moments from the jury speeches. Do you have any comments about the specific juries besides Kobe?
I do. I also had Janu, but it's more about Katie's response. Janu's like, I'm going to ask this. I don't remember even what Janu's question was, but it's like, what are like 3 of your top moments or something like that? It really was honestly an innocuous question. And Katie's like, I don't think I have your vote, so I'm not going to answer. And I'm like, Katie, you're not going to lose anything by answering this question, I don't think. But like, she just doubled down. She's like, no, I don't think you're going to vote for me, so I'm not going to say it. And I'm like, that's a strategy. It's a bad one, but okay.
Because in stuff like that, even if she's right, even if Janu is not going to vote for her, the rest of the jury is listening to that, and they could be like, "Well, that's a bad attitude." You could lose other votes that you otherwise may have had.
Yeah, I think we had a second in a row of a really bad jury. Wait. No, because that was okay. Who's the one on Pearl Island? So, Lily was one. She had a really bad showing at Final Council, and Katie did too. Mm-hmm. And you saw it in the votes because I think Lily only got 1 or 2 votes, and Katie only got 1 vote, and that was from Kobe. Mr. Tom played me dirty. that wasn't phrased right. But Katie got one vote, and that was from Kobe. And I just think if she would have played that, I think she could have done better answers. I think she had a lot that she could have said, but I mean, she still probably would have lost. But she did not help herself in any
No,
regard.
she really didn't.
It's hard. It's hard to think of like what she could have done to win in that position because Tom played such a good game.
Were you surprised by the Tom win?
No. Um, if you tell me at the beginning of the game Tom's gonna win, I'll be like, oh yeah, this is a so good. There's some reviews of this season where people are like talking about Tom's game and they talk about like how it was clear he was gonna win from episode 1 because he just had that charisma and that personality. It wasn't obvious to me that he was gonna win, but he was obvious that he was a force. You know.
I wouldn't say that because there's people who have that kind of strategy in game who don't win every season.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I didn't agree with that assessment, but I mean it also was a written publication, so it's more being hyperbole of like this is the guy that if there's a like you said you've heard him as All-American, and that is more I think what they were meaning when they say that.
Yeah, exactly. And then there really wasn't sometimes there are a lot of really standout moments in the reunion show. This one was kind of a lackluster reunion. I think there's a lot of talk about Kobe in the he got a lot of feature more than I think he should have in the reunion.
Yeah, what year was this? Because it's like there was a marked shift in the view of LGBTQ persons in media, and some of the ones before this season definitely didn't have the same support that an LGBTQ person would have nowadays on a show like this. And so watching this, it's what's nice about Survivors, it's like this time capsule and you see how we treat people based on where the world was at the time.
This
like
was
who was it?
2005.
Who was it that got like the cheers at like 2003 that got applauded in Thailand because he was a New York firefighter or police officer or something like that?
Oh, that's right. Who was that?
I want to say like Ken or something like that.
Oh, yep. Ken, that's right. Very forgettable
like
person.
The first episode's like, and then here's Ken. He's a firefighter. He's like, oh yeah, Ken. And now we got again a New York firefighter.
Yeah. Well, you also got to remember this is also a couple years fresh after 9/11.
Yep.
That also you have to take that into consideration.
Yeah. So 2005 sounds right because I think that it was we started to see more and more of that in media starting in the early aughts.
Yeah. And also Jeff was like, hey, Jeff and Kim, and then Greg and Jen, you guys still a couple?
And they're all like, we're really good friends. And like, and Jeff didn't push him. I'm like, Jeff, you're just going to accept that. Okay, whatever. You're going to accept that as an answer. Yeah. Whereas I think Jeff, the other Jeff, the contestant Jeff and Kim, they said something along the lines of like, oh, we both live in California, so no, we're able to see each other and have a little fun together. I'm like, is have a little fun? Is that what I think you mean by have a little fun?
It's the phrasing of it. I think anyone listening to that had the same thought. Like, does that mean you're going bowling?
Yeah. I feel like have a little fun is the code here. I'm just gonna go out on a limb here and say
I'm gonna say that, yeah.
But there's like seeing Survivor's accounts, and you probably hear it from a podcast. I don't know how PG that podcast is that you listen to.
PG-13, I'd say.
But you hear a lot of hookup stories from behind the scenes, and ones are like, "Oh, I didn't even realize these two," where it's just like they weren't in a relationship, they didn't have anything on the show, but these two later had that. They had a relationship.
Yeah, because a lot of I'm realizing that the Survivor contestants, even if they didn't play on seasons together, they're like their own little community. Like they all seem to know each other.
Yep. Yeah, it's fun to hear some of those stories too.
Yeah.
Well, I also wanted to take time because this was a season where there's a lot of firsts. And actually in the reunion, I had this in my mind that I wanted to talk about this, and then the reunion kind of like steals my thunder where it's like, here's all the firsts that we had. I'm like, well, Yeah, I was going to talk about this. Thank you. 30 years later, whatever it was, 20 years later. Um, Speaking of 20 years later, before I get to these firsts, we're recording this on March 24th, 2026. Brian, do you know what today is the anniversary of?
I don't.
21 years ago, our good show, The Office, debuted on this day, March 24th. So we're recording on The Office's birthday. So again, another 2005 show. We are so this aired this season finale aired probably late May or mid May of 2025.
May
So
15th.
or 2005. Yeah. May 15th, 2 days before my birthday. How about that? So we're just living 21 years ago right now. We're just living that moment. All right, back to Survivor. So this had, as you brought up with the buoy, this is the longest immunity challenge, and I believe that record is still held and unbroken to this day.
I think so too.
Hit 11 hours and 45 minutes or something like that, somewhere close to that. This was the first time that we had 20 different people competing in this show. I didn't check this, but I'm pretty sure they have it. In the opening with where they show all the survivors, do they have Wanda and Jonathan?
I believe they do, yes.
I think they do. I didn't know for sure. This was the first season that technically did not have a merge. Yes, they absorbed the word you. Thank you. They absorbed Stephanie, but it was not an actual merge. This was also the first season that we had a verbal vote, where the tribal council was, who are you going to vote for? This person. All right, they're out.
Yeah.
This was also the first, but not the last time that we saw an Exile Island. I know we do have a full season dedicated to that gimmick.
Yeah.
But first season we had that the go on your island of one. We had, two different times where it's a person on their own trying to survive. Have we had that in any other season? I know we haven't had like a tribe of one or an Exile Island, but did they have any other scenario where there's one person on their own for an extended period of time?
After this, yes, but this was the first.
Yeah. Before this, I was trying to think. It's like, apart from I'm coming back from a reward and I was on my own or something like that, or I'm coming back from I was fishing for a while. We didn't have you're literally on your own for hours on end.
Yeah.
This isn't a first, but this is the last season that does not have a hidden immunity idol. So giving you a little forewarning into next season.
I thought that started in season 12. I got that a little bit wrong.
No, we'll have it in season 11. And then I hear that it gets ridiculous. Like, I know for the first couple times, it's like, we have one human hidden immunity idol. And then, there's 10 of them now.
Well, let me tell you about this new season. I'm watching Survivor 50, right? They're themed. In fact, the idol, there's a brand of idol that they have to say the full name of it. It's called the Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol, because Billie Eilish came up with the idea, where you have to you find the idol, you have to give it to someone on a different tribe, and then if they get voted out, then it comes back to you. That's what we have in season 50. We have stuff like that in season 50. Also, in season 50, I'm not a country music fan, but Zach Brown from the Zach Brown Band shows up and is like, "Hey guys, the winner of the reward gets to hang out with me, and I'll hang out and I'll catch fish for you and sing songs for you." That was the reward. In season 50, they have special guest star Zach Brown.
Yeah, I heard about that. It's is the meme of, we used to be a real country. we would go to jellyfish ponds and swim in them. We'd swim the Great Barrier Reef. We'd fly over a volcano. Now, Zach Brown here. I'm going to play you a couple songs.
But to bring it back to 10, Stephanie LaGrossa is on season 50.
What a gal. What a gal. All right. A couple more firsts.
Yep.
Maybe not first, but they're notables, is that this season had the most challenges, 13 challenges where someone sat out.
I suppose you had to.
I don't know if that's to this day. That I think that record might have been broken, but up to this point, that was a record. 13 challenges where someone sat out.
Okay, I can't say whether it's been broken or not, but yeah, because of Oolong.
And we had in this season 5 eliminations with no vote. Wanda, Jonathan, Bobby John, Janu, and Katie all were eliminated without being voted out.
I think that one might still be a record. Not that I can think of. I mean, I haven't seen every season, but
it was like, yeah, Bobby John, he didn't get a single vote in that.
No.
Well, I mean, I think he had some votes leading up to it, but he didn't.
Yeah.
You couldn't. It was him versus Stephanie. And Janu,
Yeah.
she just quits. And then Wanda and Jonathan, no one likes them. So that's what I got for my Survivor Palau.
Me too.
All right.
That's all I got. So Matt, you said I'm gonna let you lead because you said you actually do remember some stuff from Survivor Guatemala, which is season 11.
I do. I remember the introduction of the hidden immunity idol, and then the other big thing that I remember is bringing back Stephanie and Bobby John.
Yep.
And they're like on the top of that pyramid, and they're like, "We're back, guys, and we get our own tribes, and we actually get to compete once." So they get to be kind of the leaders of these tribes. I don't know if they like pick tribes or they're automatically assigned, but I do know that they're kind of the leads. So
yeah. And sometimes they'll shoot seasons back to back where like where the contestants haven't seen the previous season, but in 11 they all react to Stephanie and Bobby John. So clearly the 11 people got to watch season 10.
Yep, because that was a September one, and so I believe that got filmed over the summer of 2005.
Yep, I remember at like ruins of like ancient civilization ruins and stuff. So like the backdrop of where they are actually looks really interesting, and like this kind of starts this era of the teens of being in cool locations, which they don't really do anymore.
No, they can just go to a beach.
Yeah. It's more interesting than just, it's a beach with a tree. And, and another thing specific, I won't say who it is because I don't know if you remember this, but there's a contestant who has a very iconic, sometimes when people get voted out, they're mad about it and they say like, screw you as they're bringing their torch to Jeff. Someone has a very iconic "I'm mad at you because I just got voted out" line.
Babu Baba Booey.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you remember this?
I don't.
So you'll know when you see it. Somebody has a great line as they exit.
I'm really excited for this. The last great line that I can think of for getting voted, I really liked Richard Hatch's "I've been bamboozled." I love that.
Yeah. That I think that and this one are probably the two that come to mind for me.
I love that. Like, I know Richard Hatch has his problems, and I know he's been arrested for not paying taxes and other things. But the guy had a love of the game, and that is something I respect about him. I respect someone who has a love of the game because Survivor is a fun game.
I think the only thing Richard Hatch loves more than Survivor is Richard Hatch.
I mean, that's probably not wrong.
Yeah. And Matt, I don't know if you have one. I actually do have a unique trivia about season 10.
Oh, I had a trivia too.
Okay.
It's possibly the same one. I could absolutely see this being the same trivia.
I could be.
Well, last week's trivia, we talked about Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. That was a great episode. We're able to rank all of the characters, and so go listen to that episode. See who is our favorite character from the Better Call Saul Breaking Bad universe. Is it Walt? Is it Jimmy? Is it Gus? Is it Jesse? Is it Skyler? I'll give you a hint. It's not Skyler. All right. Well, and this is what we're trivia. That's what we're doing. I'm not closing. The trivia from that episode was, what was the last line of spoken dialogue from Breaking Bad? And that line was, "Well, goodbye, Lydia."
Yep. Because after that, he nods to Jesse silently, but no more words are spoken.
Yep. And then he goes and he finagles a little machine as he's shot. He's like, "I love you, meth lab," and then falls over and dies.
Yep. So Matt, what is your trivia for Survivor Palau?
Let's
just say we'll do them both unless they are the same one.
I have a feeling they're the same one. So there was no merge.
Oh, it's the same one.
It is the same one, but they still CBS created the buffs like there was going to be a merge. And they actually had their own buffs picked out. What color were the unused buffs of the third tribe that was supposed to be merged from Karor and Oolong?
Matt, here's another first for the podcast. It's the first time in 209 episodes that you and I have, without speaking to each other, I came up with the exact same trivia independently, because that was exactly my question too.
It's a good trivia question, and it's a unique one for this season. You're absolutely right.
Because obviously going in, they have all the merge buffs ready and everything. They have it all picked out. They just never had to use it.
And apparently it's a collector's item now. That like, well, yeah, we have these, so they sold it as part of their auction, and so people bought the unused buffs.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, that's it. That's Survivor Season 10. We'll see you next time for Survivor Season 11 in Guatemala. Not the next TV Guys episode. That's going to be a little bit. Next time we are talking about something else. So we'll see you on that one. Until then, I'm Matt.
I'm Brian.
And we're reminding you to stay tuned and keep watching.